Happy new day, everyone. Hey, world. Happy new day, world. It's the Brennan J. Lewis coming at you live right now. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. In Brooklyn, New York, rather. Um, we're going to go ahead and get into our book read. We are currently reading Mr. Edgar Schein's. Um, we are reading Humble Consulting. I was a bit distracted today with everything that's happening around our brother Tyree Nichols. It took a long time for me to actually be able to express how I felt about it. I just, when trauma happens within our community, it's really difficult to speak on it because it's just we're trying to understand why, right? Like why someone would actually do that, or why persons, right, that look like us, that may have the same skin color, why they would do that to us. And so I'm just trying to get out of the funk of what happened with Tyree Nichols and what his family is dealing with right now. And I'm going to get into this book read. Let me just go grab the book. I'll be right back. All right, y'all. I'm back. I'm excited. I'm excited that I'm getting stronger. Sometimes you have to do things because feeling good is a strategy. Hey, God, brother. Bring politics in with a book read, but this is reality. We're dealing with reality, right? We're dealing with real life situations, and these things hurt. The past 2 days I came live and I wasn't feeling 100% in spirit because of the oppression, right? And when you're feeling oppressed, sometimes you can't speak up. So the past 2 days, rather, when I went live, it was just like I felt like, oh my God, what are we gonna do as a community? And as the days went by, I said, okay, Sabrina, you got to suit up, right? Because we are real advocates in these streets. We may have taken a year off, right? Happy new day, Mitch. Hey, Mitch. Oh, hey, Mitch. Blessings and love to you. We're getting ready to get into this book read, Humble Consulting, but my heart goes out to the families and individuals that's just dealing with, the whole case around Tyree Nichols. I could not be silent. Many of you know me as an advocate for real. And, I feel like I'll be wrong to be on here doing the book read like everything is okay, because it's not okay. I was very emotional this morning and I said, how can I be an advocate and not operate in my emotions and in my feelings when we're dealing with real life community issues, right? And so my son, he's we're all still dealing with the grief of mommy's transition. And he said something that could help you get back into the groove of things, mommy, is your book reads. He said, I think that you should inspire people and teach people as they're on their way to work. I said, 8:30 is a little bit late, but I'm going to take his advice and I'm going to go with it. Feeling good is a strategy, and it takes time for us to get back to ourselves when people we love transition. A part of us goes with them and we become something different. We're not the same people we used to be. That's real life. We're just not. So don't expect us to be the same. Don't expect me. I'll speak for me. Don't expect me to be the same Sabrina J. Lewis. I may have the same characteristics, but I'm different. I'm not the same, right? That was my mama, my mommy. So anyway, I'm moving forward now. I'm going to go ahead and get into this book read. We're talking about how to help people faster. Last year, I was reading this book called Helping by Mr. Edgar Schein, same author, different book. This is the updated version on how to help people faster. When I was working in health and hospital systems as a community liaison, merging people together from all walks of life, it was challenging because we had to deal with cultural diversity. We had to deal with hierarchy, and it's in every community, right? It doesn't matter where we are. It's in every community. It's everywhere. In every culture, in every system, we have to deal with their systems. When you're not familiar with dealing with their systems, when you're coming from an entrepreneurial background, because I was coming into the health system as an entrepreneur, and as someone who has a whole family organization working in community. So for me, it was a shock to my system when I just tried to put on an event and I had to go through hoops to help people. I'm preparing for a blood drive tomorrow. It's happening at Kings County Hospital. But that's just one of the things that we used to do. Oh, thank you, Mitch. I appreciate that. And so, I want to be more present. I said it's February. Happy February. First, I love new beginnings, new days of the week, new days of the month. It makes me feel like there's hope to do something different. It makes me feel like, oh, wow, I'm alive again. Being that I'm alive again, I have the chance to do something I've always wanted to do. So I said, let me do something today to make me happy. Yesterday, I did the book read. Yesterday, I cleaned up. Yesterday, I did hair. So I did things to make me feel good. And today is a brand new day. It's a brand new month. So I want you, as you're on your journeys, to do something today to make you happy. Let me drink some lemon water so I don't be parched. Okay. It's too early for tea. So I said, let me drink some lemon water. All right, y'all. Let's go. So yesterday's chapter was on chapter 1. I am the consultant and I don't know what to do. Mr. Edgar gave an analogy on hospital systems and the cultural diversity that happens. The CEOs called him for help. Pretty much, I'm just giving you all a summary. Just have a lemon seed stuck in my throat. 1 minute. Better. So the COOs called Mr. Edgar in for help. They tried to hold a meeting on cultural diversity. They was trying to figure out how can they implement new ideas in their hospital system when people who've been there forever don't want change. And so Mr. Edgar came in to see how he could help. And instead of him doing a whole diagnosis, he sat and he listened to them. And then he listened to his instincts, which told him to just ask them a question. And the question was, have you all sat down to listen to the needs of the people? And pretty much the answer was no, they did not. They just was trying to implement these new things and didn't explain to the people why they was doing it or what the ultimate mission was. And so we have to learn how to effectively communicate our needs to the people if we want to bring change first. It's like we can't go we can't try to go vaccinate people without meeting their immediate need, right? People need social services to help them live everyday life. So enough of my commentary. That was, I am the consultant. I don't know what to do. Now we're getting into chapter 2. What is new? What is new in humble consulting? We're on page 15. If you have the book, I'm always marketing somebody else's book. Did y'all get any of my books yet? Y'all know I wrote 2 chapters and 2 anthologies, right? Last year. The first book was It's Your Time, Sis. The second book was the first book was Take the Cape Off, Sis. And the second book was It's Your Time, Sis. It's an anthology and I don't market it as often as I should, but that's a plug-in. Click the link in my bio and get the book. Thank you. All right. Back to humble consulting. The humble consulting model is new in several respects. In this chapter, I will review the elements of this new model briefly. The rest of the book examines each new element in greater detail with the aid illustrative case examples from my own experiences. I refer mostly to consulting, but the ideas apply as well to other forms of helping, such as coaching, counseling, and broader organization development projects. Got to get my marker and I got to get my pen because y'all know that I'm sitting here reading to y'all for accountability and to inspire y'all, but this is for me because I'm getting ready to launch back into entrepreneurship and Rafa Art Life Centers, my family's organization, and even work, right? Ambassador work. In fields in the community. And so I have to be able to know how to help people faster because don't nobody got time, right? And I'm still adjusting to this new life. And so I might be a little slow, whereas you all have been in the workforce. So you all are you're like this. So I'm trying to get my momentum back up. After this, I'm going for my walk. All right. So HC requires a new kind of personal relationship with the client. I said early on that the consultant should have a relationship with the client, but I never specified what I meant by that or what kind of relationship it should be. In working or messier problems and trying to get what is really on the client's mind and what is worrying them, I have found that formal professional relationship that most models advocate will not get me there. I have to overcome professional distance and develop what I am calling a new level 2 relationship that is more personal, more trusting, and more open. In my book, Helping in 2009, which is a book that I was reading last year during this time, I noted that asking for help is difficult in itself in our culture. So potential clients feel one down and therefore not very open or trusting in their initial contact with the consultant. And we know this to be true. In the new role, the consultant must find a way to begin the personalization process from the very first encounter with the client to signal that she can be trusted and that it is safe to be more open with her or him. What I mean by relationship and level 2 will be explained in detail in chapter 3, so y'all got to come back tomorrow, depending on how long this chapter is. Okay, we could get through this today, I believe. For chapter 3, the building of such a relationship begins from the moment of the first encounter, which means that the consultant must approach that initial encounter with an entirely different kind of initial behavior. HC requires a new kind of behavior in the very first contact. Just so y'all know, when you drink lemon water, it's flushing your body out. So you might feel like you have to blow your nose. You might feel like you have to exasperate phlegm, right? I'm just being honest. As a public health worker, I gotta let you know, when I'm telling you to do things that are good for you, there are definitely going to be results from that, okay? So I can't excrete right now because I'm on live. But yeah, when you drink lemon water, just know you're cleaning your system out, and it's a good thing. So let me go back. So he says, this dilemma, wait, let me go back. No matter what the client's initial presentation might be, building the new relationship requires that I take a helping stance and try to personalize the conversation from the moment I'm in contact with the potential client. Whether this is on a phone or in an email or in a first meeting or over lunch, I am not there to scout or diagnose or develop a contract with the client. People, we do that. We do that first, and it's not right. We're here, or we're there, or he says, I am there to help in whatever way I can. If what I hear today, or if what I hear totally turns me off, or asks me to do something that I can't or won't do, I have to be authentic and find a way to communicate that, but to do so in a way that will still be seen as helpful. This dilemma often comes up when a client wants me to recommend or do a particular kind of cultural survey or do something in a mindless way without considering the consequences. I could just say no, but that would not be helpful. To be helpful and consistent with this new model, I would prefer to say, tell me a little bit more about what you have in mind. In my voice, I usually say to my patients, well, tell me a little bit more about what you got going on. Right? So being authentic is you just being you wherever you are. You don't have to use a special tone or pitch or, vernacular to get more information. What problem are you trying to solve? And so on, the things that he says to his patients or clients. To be able to do this requires adopting a new attitude in approaching those first contracts. Now, this book was written and copywritten rather 2016, so it might be a bit dated for some. Some of the information may be a bit dated. Some of these things we may be doing now, but some people are not. From my experiences working in hospitals, in the community, in politics, lobbying, advocating, whatever, I realized that although this is an old read, almost like Think and Grow Rich, there are some principles that can always be used. So humble consulting requires a new attitude. What's going on over here on Instagram? Oh, okay, y'all still with me. Hey, y'all. Not Instagram, I mean YouTube. Okay, so humble consulting requires a new attitude of humility, a commitment to helping, and curiosity. The essence of this new attitude is humility in the face of the complexity of problems and humility in the relationship with the client in the same sense that I am here or I am there to help work things out together, not to take over the problem and run with it. I had to communicate this when I was in the hospital trying to host events for my families and individuals with sickle cell. The people thought I was trying to take over the hospital because I wanted to host an event. I was like, listen, I'm not here to take your job, right? It's not my fault that y'all didn't do a blood drive in only God knows how long. I'm just trying to give families what I know they need, which is blood, bone marrow, and education for families and communities that don't know what all of that's about and why they need it. That's it. Some people think that we're there to take over, and we're really not, right? He says, I am there to empathetically honor the difficulties that the client faces and to focus on him and the situation, not on my own needs to sell myself, my skills, and my insights. This is a day and age where many people are just trying to catch a sale, right? But we have to do things a little bit different. This is why I'm here to help us out a little bit on the journey. This attitude can be best captured by saying that I am genuinely committed to helping and genuinely care for the client and his or her situation. Okay, these are highlight moments. You know, when we forget, these are highlight moments. To ensure that this gets through to the client from the beginning, I allow myself to become genuinely curious. It is honest, spontaneous curiosity that best conveys my interest and concern for the client. This attitude can thus be characterized by by 3 C's: commitment to helping, caring for the client, and above all, curiosity. And that's true. I could say that from my personal experience, it's true. He says, I have found that this new attitude requires some new skills as well. HC requires new listening and responding skills. I had to learn this because sometimes we want to hear what we like. For me, because hospitals are so fast paced, I'm just like, okay, what's the need? You know, like what is your concern? Happy New Day. How may I help you? Like real quick and hurry, like for real, like get to the point. I got somebody else waiting for me, you know. But I had to learn literally how to be a little bit more patient because of cultural sensitivity, right? The most important new skill is a different kind of listening. With all the books and programs on improving listening skills, I found that in doing this kind of consulting, I had to learn yet another kind of listening than what is usually advocated. And that is and that this new kind of listening was needed in order to know how to respond. We're on page 18, Humble Consulting, how to help people, how to help, how to provide real help faster by Mr. Edgar Schein. All right. So he says, and this new kind of skill was needed in order to know how to respond. I had to develop 2 kinds of empathy. Empathy, one, is to listen for and be curious about the actual situation or problem that the client is describing. Empathy, 2, is to listen for and be curious about what is really bothering the speaker as she is explaining the problem or situation. Happy New Day, y'all. And so, for example, a call comes in from a potential client who says, I am concerned about the level of engagement of my employees. Could you help me build a culture of engagement? Empathy, one, would be to explore what she means by engagement and culture. And those are both in quotation marks, by asking for examples. Empathy, two, would be to ask, what is it that is concerning to you? Why are you worried about this? We can listen for both things. But at some point, we have to decide whether to pursue our curiosity about the content and the situation or curiosity about the caller. In either case, we have to learn that we have a broad range of possible questions and reactions available to us. And it makes a difference which kinds of questions we choose to ask or which kinds of responses we choose to make. Similarly, we have a real choice in how much to personalize a situation by what kinds of questions we ask or by the kinds of things we reveal about ourselves. An analysis of these initial choices will be the focus of chapter 4. Right now we're in chapter 2, so bear with me and you'll get those focuses. Personalizing the relationship is common to all these points and must therefore be looked at more closely in that it changes the fundamental role of the consultant or helper. HC is a new and different personal role for the consultant. The word consulting traditionally connotes to help in the role or expert and or doctor by providing expert information, services, diagnosis, and prescriptions in the form of recommendations while above all keeping professional distance. And I'm highlighting that for myself because it's really difficult in these realms to keep professional distance when you're helping people. People get attached. We get attached as professionals, right? Although this role may continue to work for well-defined technical problems, it has become less and less useful because the problem cannot be defined clearly enough to enable the helper to know what to do that would really be helpful. This is true. I'm so glad we're reading this book. In this new HC role, the consultant's primary purpose is to enable the client to figure out and make sense of what is really worrying her, what is really on her mind. The consultant has to become a partner and helper even in that first inquiry into what is going on and what is worrying the client. For example, in a video consultation with a group of leaders of 5 organizations that had recently merged, I was asked how the 5 groups might now get together to create a common marketing program so that the community would know what the new merged services were. Instead of proposing something about team building for the group or for the 5 groups, I found myself asking questions about what the service actually was, literacy programs and remedial reading clinics, why they had merged and what had gotten in the way of their developing a marketing program. Good questions, right? In that process, I gradually realized that what really worried them was not how to find common ground, but that each group would lose its unique skill. What we worked out together, even in the first phone call, was the adaptive move that they really had to make first. The adaptive move was to observe each other actually working and learning from this, what was each of the 5 groups. Let me read that again, y'all. What we worked out together, even in this first phone call, was the adaptive move that they really had to make first. The adaptive move was to observe each other actually working and learn from this what was for each of the 5 groups their unique skill and how that might fit the community needs, right? Because you're not going to learn if you're not actually doing the work. People talk all day. I watch people sitting with so many different needs, and I watch health professionals talk all day, but they solving no problems, and that used to irk my nerves. I said, when I become CEO of my own organization, I'm going to train effectively so that people really know how to not waste time, right? And so they did not need a common marketing program. They first needed to get to know one another at a more fundamental personal level. Page 20, chapter 2, Hummel Consulting, how to help oh my gosh, how to provide real help faster. Let me drink some lemon water and take a deep breath. All right, y'all. Thank you for being with me. Okay. To elicit genuine information from the client and to be able to process it, the consultant must work together with the client at a more personal level. Level 2. How personalization plays out will be analyzed in greater detail in chapter 5. He always giving us hope to stay and continue to read the book. To make this work, the consultant must have the paradoxical ability to be empathetic to the client and to the client's situation, yet not to be content seduced, he says, but to stay focused on various processes that are occurring between a consultant and the client. These various processes choices will be the focus of chapter 6. Okay. Dealing with the new complex, messy problems will, in the end, require new and innovative responses from the consultant. HC encourages a wider range of consultant behavior based on the consultant being open, authentic, and innovative in a relationship. We talked about this, right? So let's get into it. What should be the basis of my action and of how I respond in dialogue with the client? Do I stick closely to the just humble inquiry? Do I blurt out whatever is on my mind? Do I give advice when I think I know the answer? Spitting and carrying on. Do I reveal how the project may help me and how it fits into my skill set? Do I require based Do I inquire based on needing to know how the client's issues connect to my skills? Or do I just keep going with curiosity and see where it leads? The answer may be any of these, depending on the circumstances of the moment. If the goal is to build an open and trusting relationship, I try to be authentic. If I see something that does not make sense or asks something of me that I don't want to do, I have to say so and explain, knowing that in explanation, I may actually provide help by bringing up issues that the client may not have even thought of. As we see in several cases, it was my unwillingness to do what the client wanted that led to real help. Where is innovation in all of this? Aren't what I am calling adaptive moves just interventions with a new name? Some adaptive moves may indeed be the standard kinds of interventions if the conversation leads to that conclusion. But more often than not, I have found that adaptive moves are usually shorter and often counterintuitive. True. If we change who is in the room, change who is doing the sense making, and also change the nature of the conversation from problem solving to discussion, debate, and genuine dialogue, all kinds of new adaptive moves will occur to people, especially if we remember that a move is not necessarily a part of the plan. It's just a move. Reminded me of chess just now. The new model for consultant behavior will be more like improvisation, theater, or a jazz band than formal scripts, rules, and standardized guides and checklists. A major part of this will be to change the nature of the conversation from discussion and or debate into a more dialogue around the campfire. HC will be most effective if the new conversations become dialogues. This element may be the most different from traditional models because a level 2 relationship makes it possible to have an entirely different kind of conversation. A dialogic point of exploration based on both consultant and client accepting the responsibility or the reality rather, not responsibility, accepting the reality that neither of them knows where the conversation is going or what kinds of adaptive moves we may think of if we give up the typical goal-oriented competitive problem-solving discussion that we are so often pushed into by pressures of time and our limited models of what conversation could be. Getting the right people into the room and having a dialogic exploration of the complex mess may be the best model of the future of effective helping. And this was my truths in community development as well as in the hospital. So, how the new elements fit together logically. As I review my various cases over the years, I realized that the essence of this new model was already evident in many of my experiences. But I now have to pull it together and describe it for others. This new model does not tell me what to do, but it provides me a way to think about what is happening to the clients and what attitudes and skills I have to develop to be really helpful to them. He says, I call it humble consulting because, right? And here's the answer to the whole book. Well, parts of it. He says he calls it humble consulting because I am in awe of the complexity of the problems and of the difficulties that clients face in trying to move forward. I also realize that there is an intrinsic logic to this combination of new things that can best be viewed in terms of following the 10 working propositions. Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Hey, Mika. Hey, girl. Yes, I'm telling you this, and this is why life was like, Mommy, don't do it in the morning. Don't do it at night. People tired at night. Okay, so number one, to be really helpful requires locating what the real problem is. That is, what is worrying the client, okay? This right here is going to help y'all. I could probably just end with this and then continue tomorrow. But There's still more to the chapter. And I want to get through each chapter because like we have other books and other things that we got to do. So, okay, we're going to get through this chapter. We're going to get through it. Y'all stay with me if you're able to, okay? Or just come back for the replay. Number 2, to locate what is worrying the client requires open and trusting communication between client and helper. 3, to facilitate open and trusting communication requires building a level 2 personal working relationship that goes beyond the formal level 1 professional relationship of most helping situations. To build such a level 2 working relationship requires same amount of personalization of the relationship that was 4. 5, to personalize the relationship requires humble inquiry by asking more personal questions, of revealing more personal thoughts or feelings. To build a personal level 2 relationship requires that the consultant convey this intention in the initial contact with the client. Happy new day. How you doing? What's going on? What you got going on? I'm going to ask you some personal questions now, okay? Let me know how comfortable you are answering them, or whatever your language is. I'm going to ask you some personal questions now so that we can get a deeper understanding of how we can better serve you. These are certain things that I do and I say, in my public health works. Number 6, to build a personal level 2 relationship requires that the consultant convey this intention in the initial contact with the person. I read that already. Number 7, to make sense of what is bothering the client once a level 2 working relationship is building, helper and client must engage in a joint dialogic process. Number 8, to determine whether there are several things bothering the client for which no single solution will help requires careful review by both consultant and client. Number 9, to decide where action is needed, consultant and client have to jointly decide on priorities and what actions to take. I could speak on that, but I'm not going to talk on that right now. But we do have to prioritize, especially in public health works, because there's so many different needs. There's so many needs. So is the person hungry, or are they dealing with domestic violence, right? You may have to grab them a lunch tray and work with Safe Horizon to get them out of that situation at the same time, right? But the immediate need is they're hungry. They're hungry. They don't want to talk about domestic violence if they're hungry. Their stomach is growling. They're sitting there looking at you like they don't hear you because they're hungry. So we have to meet that social need first. Mika says, so many problems, intrinsic logic. Locate the real problem. This is good. Glad I tuned in. Thank you, Mika. I'm glad you did too, girl. And so, number 10, if the problem is simple and clear, the helper should go into the expert or doctor role to refer the client to an expert or doctor, which is, some of you have had that experience working with me, right? If the problem turns out to be complex or messy, the client and helper should engage in a dialogue to figure out a feasible adaptive move, knowing that this may not solve the problem, but will provide some comfort and will reveal new information on the basis of which to figure out the next adaptive move. So, we can't tell people that we can't really tell people that we'll help them. We can just offer support and do the best that we can, because we don't know for sure if we're actually helping a person. We just do the best that we can, right? We can't make promises in healthcare because you don't know what you really can and can't do. Like, we can't tell what I mean is we cannot tell a sick person that they're going to be well if they are not willing to do the work to be well. We can only do our part, and they have to work with us to go the distance, right? Adaptive moves have to be joint decisions because a consultant will never know enough about a client's personal situation or organizational culture. And the client will never know enough about all the consequences of a given intervention, such as a survey or other diagnostic process tool. Therefore, one of the consultant's responsibilities is also to understand the consequences of certain kinds of adaptive moves, such as diagnostic interviews and surveys, and to fully brief the client about those consequences to determine whether or not the client is ready for such moves. We almost done, y'all. We got 2 more pages. All right. What does it mean to really help? Ooh, I like when we start getting into the meat of things. I think of help as doing something with and for clients that they cannot do by themselves. The ultimate judgment of whether what I have done has been helpful or not is basically up to the client to decide. Agreed. If I feel I have helped, but the client has not felt help, then I have not helped. So where does really helping fit in this criterion or criteria? In the kinds of complex, messy problems I have described, whether I am being helpful or not has to be perpetually evaluated by both the client and me. Sometimes the client will see things that have improved the situation or will have gained clarity about what to do without my knowing it. Sometimes I will see things that have clearly improved the situation that the client has not perceived true. And we will agree that help has been provided. Let me read that again. Sometimes I will see things that have clearly improved the situation that the client has not perceived. And we will agree that help has been provided. I have examples of that in group fitness. I have examples of that in community health, doing blood drives, hosting educational events. It's like you're asking a question, people are answering it like they understand, but sometimes they don't understand. But I know that some of them do understand based off of how they're asking certain questions. I hope you understood that, right? My clients and I will discover that the first real help is my enabling them to see the true complexity and messiness of the problem situation and help them to abandon quick fixes and or knee-jerk reactions, right? Because lipo is not always the answer. Sometimes you got to just walk, right? Sometimes you got to start your day with your lemon water, not have your first meal till after 12 o'clock. And then, have your heaviest meal between 12 and 3, right? And not eat after 6 o'clock. Sometimes we have to create boundaries to make us well. Sometimes we might have to um, do a detox, right? Whether it's the lemon water or whether it's an actual something to make you go to the bathroom quicker, right? And so he says, we can give ourselves permission just to focus on what to do next or not worry about all the fixtures, next moves that might be down the road. However, in order to be really helpful, the next move has to be culturally valid so that the exploration of what is culturally possible and or desirable also has to be done faster. Having outsiders engage in a diagnostic process by gathering and analyzing data often turns out to be much slower in building a personal relationship with the client and other members of the system, and together figuring out what is going on and what needs to be done together. Together. We have to do this together. Sometimes it's difficult to do things together when you don't have team players, but you still have to be you and do what you do. They'll come along because they'll realize that you're not there to be friends. You're there to do your job. And when we go to work to do our work authentically, we get things done. It don't take months and years and decades as the politicians. Oops, I said that out loud. My bad. But yeah. Anyway, let me keep going. Again, having outsiders engage in a diagnostic process by gathering and analyzing data often turns out to be much slower than building a personal relationship with the client and other members of the system, and together figuring out what is going on and what needs to be done. Where culture is involved, I have also learned that clients digging out what is in their own culture with my help is not only faster, but more valid and more likely to be accepted as a reality by them. What is often most helpful is to make clients aware of the depth and complexity of the culture in which they live and to show them that simple culture diagnosis and cultural change fixes rarely accomplish what the client wants. Humble consulting will be the new leadership skill, y'all. As the world of work becomes more complex, all leaders and managers will, from time to time, have to become helpers to their bosses, subordinates, and peers. Therefore, they too will have to discover that professional distance can be very destructive to teamwork. Okay? Professional distance can be very destructive to teamwork. I know y'all got some people who you wished was on this live stream right now. They too will have to learn how to build more personal relationships, especially with their subordinates, in order to get the information they need to improve the quality and safety of the work to be done. Hey, y'all. Again, we're here reading Humble Consulting, How to Provide Real Help faster. And its book is by Edgar Schein. I have found it shocking how often communication across hierarchical and functional boundaries are faulty. Employees withhold information that is crucial to safe performance. Oh my gosh. Not in my business. This is the last page, y'all. Or quality of work. Sometimes the employees even lie, saying that things are okay when in fact they are not. Their managers would reassure me that they were good listeners and paid attention. But when their subordinates were interviewed, I would learn that they had tried to communicate upward and were met with indifference, impatience, and the killing dictum: don't bring me a problem you don't have a solution. If you don't have a solution, I dealt with that in health and hospitals, which is one of the reasons why I'm not currently there besides the vaccination, right? I felt like, listen, I've been doing this for over 2 decades in field, right? I'm not here to take over. I'm here to help build hospitals of wellness. I don't want your position. Trust me, I like my freedom, right? But some people don't understand your solution. So to them, you don't have one. Let me get back to the book. I learned that managers felt that they had done their jobs when they clearly told their subordinates what to do and how to do it. It seemed not to occur to them that they had to actually create a climate in which employees would feel welcomed if they admitted and that they did not understand or did not agree or had bad news to report. Sometimes people don't understand but don't know how to say it because they don't want to waste people's time. But you waste people's time when you do a job the wrong way because you have to be retrained, right? So we got to be a little bit more patient with the employees. When complex problems are identified, it is often the manager's job to work with the employee to figure out together what the problem and the approach to, what is this word? Ameliorating. That's a word I've never seen before. Ameliorating it might be. He says when complex problems are identified, it is often the manager's job to work with the employee to figure out together what the problem and the approach to ameliorating it might be. Listening, okay, I know that word. Listening, even good empathetic listening, is not enough if the employee feels unsafe in bringing up a problem in the first place. Mika says, create a climate in which employees feel welcome. Exactly. Employees have to be able to communicate if they don't know what to do, or if they feel unsafe, or if they're uncomfortable, or anything. As work becomes more complex, bosses and subordinates may have to find ways to personalize their relationships with one another to facilitate more trust and open communication. I had to do this at the hospitals. I had to literally go to the CEO and the COO of the hospital to be able to host my events appropriately, because the in-between people that I needed to approve certain things was dragging their feet because it wasn't important to them, or they didn't understand what I was trying to do, and I was new. Right? So I had to get a little bit personal with the bosses themselves to help me deal with that they other bosses that's just they don't have time, right? So this has clearly happened already in operating rooms and with other kinds of work groups that are highly interdependent. The big question for the future is, can leaders and managers learn to be humble consultants to their subordinates? In conclusion, last paragraph, y'all. The messages of this book are directed primarily to consultants, coaches, and other kinds of helpers, but they are just as applicable to parents, bosses, and team members when they find themselves from time to time having to create a more personal, helping relationship because they are dealing with a complex, messy problem. Yeah, listen, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but that was good. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about we're going to be on chapter 3. We're going to be talking about the need for a trusting and open level 2 relationship. I'm going to thank you all for being here today. Again, that was chapter 2 of Humble Consulting. I really enjoy being here. My goal is to get through this book. I wanted to get through it this week, but there are, how many chapters is in here? There's some chapters and some lessons, and so it's not really about speed. It's about being able to download this information with an understanding. So it's 7 lessons in this book. There's 7 lessons in this book. And, I'm here to help us, to help more people, provide real help faster. I don't want us making mistakes by rushing or just saying things because it's cliche, and dealing with grief. I've heard some crazy things. People have said crazy things to me, and I'm just like, I forgive y'all and I love y'all, but we can't talk like that no more. Because sometimes you think people's mindsets are in a different space, but it's just like, no, we cannot continue to keep saying the same thing and not choosing to learn a different way, a different skill or something. So during this time off, I took a whole year to just feel, to heal, to learn, to read. I've gotten certifications in mental health for youth and even in grief from NYU to help me to further assist families and individuals that's dealing with grief, that's dealing with mental health issues and concerns, but also dealing with social services in real life. Like this whole Tyree Nichols case has my whole heart hurt. I had literally been silent since day one because, people keep saying these are our people. How could they do this? And I'm just like, really? These are not our people, because your people wouldn't do that to your people. So just because you look like me and talk like me and may act like me to a certain point doesn't make you my kin, doesn't make you my brother or my sister. I'm for justice no matter who it's for or against. If you see my last post that I pinned to my profile on Instagram and I shared it on Facebook, it's really just talking to what do you do when you don't know what to do? When you have the will and the desire, but you have no energy, you have no strength to fight, what do you do? Sometimes you do have to be silent because God speaks when we meditate and when we sit in silence. Sometimes I have to close the windows and turn off the lights, and I sit with journal. I sit with the journal, and I sit with the pen, and I have water. Because water is life, and the more water you drink, the more life you get. The more water you drink, the more life you get. When you add lemon, then you start to flush out your system, right? Removing toxins and all kinds of backed up stuff, right? And so I do that because I'm just like, Heavenly Creator, Mother, I don't know what to do, right? Like, I don't know what to do. So I get silent when when I'm dealing with relationship woes or in family and friends with a lover or whatever. I get silent when I don't know what to do. I get silent so that I don't say the wrong thing. When I have a dear loved one who is grieving, I get silent. I send them a message to let them know I am here. And then I show up by doing something, whatever I have the ability to do. Sometimes it may not be my physical presence because I have to preserve my energy for when the time is right for me to really show up in the way that I am really needed. It's like the oral surgeon who comes to the emergency room just to check if there are any patients needing oral surgery, right? Because if he starts working on everybody, when somebody comes in that he really needs to help, he's not going to be able to help them because he's spending time with somebody else who somebody else could have helped. You understand what I'm saying to you? So we have to make sure that we put our energy where it needs to be and don't just give out all of us to everybody who needs help. And so during this time, I am learning so much, and I'm so happy and thankful for this time. I'm thankful for my needs being met, even though it's time for my butt to get back to work for real. So if y'all need your hair done, I am still a cosmetologist, and I make house calls, not everywhere because some of y'all got some issues, but I do have bodyguards. I am an advocate. I do get paid for lobbying. I do get paid to be a public health worker when I do the job. Okay. What else? I do have 2 anthologies that I participated in. The first one is Take the Cape Off, Sis. The second one is It's Your Time, Sis. You can click the link in my bio. I'm placing a bulk order to go out Friday. The goal is Friday, but it may be pushed to Monday depending on how many more orders I get, because it's not when you write a book as an author, you can send people to Amazon or to your own website and the money goes directly to you. When you write a book as a co-author, you make money by selling the books yourself. So I have to place a big order, right, to be able to make some kind of money off the books. But for me, I participated because I just wanted the message to get out there. The new mandate should be love, not a vaccination, right? People who have health challenges cannot get vaccinated because they will die. That's a real life situation, but systems don't care about that. So real advocates have to speak up because many people are just accepting this norm. People are being forced into getting the mandate so that they can work. right? And so then you have entrepreneurs like me. I have not, I've gotten the first dose and I've experienced trauma to my head, and I have not gone back to get the second dose because I was like, I'm my only son's parent and I want to be here. Only I know what I was experiencing, but the doctors don't think that it was that serious. So they didn't, give me a medically valid reason for not getting the vaccination, the second dose. So here I am, working my gifts, showing up and doing something to make me happy. I hope that by me showing up, it helps you in some way. All right. I can't be here all day because I have some other work to do. But Humble Consulting, y'all, I'll be back tomorrow. I stayed on here longer than I wanted to. Let me go. I was a little bit late today, but I wanted to give you all's good times work because I said I would be here. All right. Do something, at least one thing to make yourself happy, something to make you feel good, and something that will bring you closer to your dreams. We are gifted, we are talented, and we don't need approval or permission to be and do the things that we desire and want to do. You don't need permission to be who you already are. All right? Y'all heard that? All right, yeah, that's my time. I'm gonna drink some more lemon water and I'm gonna go on my walk for wellness because walking is life. It gives you mental clarity, it releases gases, and it helps my mental health, right? And so, bye for now, y'all. See you later. Love life well and live. Click the link in my bio and get a book or something. All right? Or give me an offering. I love y'all. Bye for now. See you later.